Hey guys, welcome to my channel where we share with you the most insane true stories of people conforming to their HOA. Our next post is from a user. My grandpa lives in a neighborhood that has a lake in the center. The lake is surrounded by houses and it's probably about an acre in size. It's not super deep and has a ton of fish in it. This is what my grandpa liked to do every morning. He would get up, make some coffee, grab his fishing rod, and go down to the lake and fish. Sometimes he would catch enough for a fish fry that night. The problem was there were a lot of people in the neighborhood who didn't like him fishing. They were a bunch of rich retirees, and they complained to the homeowners association until one day he got a letter saying that he wasn't allowed to fish in the lake. Apparently, the HOA had made a rule recently that fishing was prohibited in the lake. So my grandpa wrote back asking for clarification. He said that he'd been fishing in this lake since before the HOA existed and they didn't have any rules about fishing when he started. To which they responded, "It doesn't matter. We don't allow fishing." He then told them that if they took away his ability to fish on the lake, he would take them to court because they had no legal right to do so. My grandpa had owned his home for 40 years and he literally had photos of him fishing on the lake from over 30 years ago. But the HOA sent him another letter saying that if he didn't stop fishing immediately, they would call the cops, so he waited. A couple days later, he was out fishing and sure enough, a cop shows up and tells him he has to stop fishing or he'll be arrested. My grandpa asked the officer if he wanted to see the photos and he said no. And my grandpa told him, "Well, then I guess I'll just keep fishing." The cop left and came back 10 minutes later with a second cop and they tried to arrest my grandpa, but he resisted. He's a big guy and both the cops ended up getting tasered. When they finally got him to the station house, he asked if he could make a phone call and they said no. He spent the night in jail and in the morning he had to pay $1,500 to get out. In court, he said he was innocent and the judge threw the case out, but he still had to pay the fines. Then the HOA tried to fine him again, but he told them he was bankrupt after paying his lawyer and he wasn't paying anything else. So the HOA sued him for the fines and the court ordered him to pay the fines or be put in jail for 60 days. So he went to jail and the HOA president went to the courthouse to make sure he stayed there. Well, they were in court. My grandpa had his lawyer file a lawsuit against the HOA for taking away his property rights. See, my grandpa's house had an easement to the lake. The easement gave him and all the other residents of the neighborhood the right to use the lake. This included fishing rights. The HOA had made a rule that violated his easement, and therefore they were violating his property rights. The judge ruled in my grandpa's favor and forced the HOA to pay him and all the other residents of the neighborhood for damages. Then the HOA tried to appeal the decision, but lost again. The HOA tried to make a counter-argument that they had paid for the upkeep of the lake, and therefore they should be able to make rules about how the lake could be used, but they couldn't prove that they had paid for the upkeep of the lake. The lawsuit ended up costing the HOA $2 million. Yeah, you heard me right, $2 million. That's why you don't mess with old people and definitely don't mess with old people who have lawsuits on deck. Down in the comments, a user says, "Did he at least catch anything?" And the op replied, "Yeah, he caught plenty. There was a ton of fish in that lake." At one point, he actually called the cops himself to help him collect the fish because he was catching more than he could eat. The cops were happy to help and everyone got some free fish. Holy crap, that is amazing. An HOA trying to tell someone they can't fish in a lake on their own property. What a joke, and even if it wasn't on his property, what the hell does it matter? You know, when I lived by a lake, people would routinely fish off the docks. Nobody said anything, nobody complained. Everyone seemed happy, everyone got along. But now it seems like if your neighbor cuts the grass on the wrong side of the lawn, you're gonna complain to the HOA. That's just crazy. I mean, honestly, you shouldn't have an HOA in the first place. But anyways, that is all for our video today. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content. But anyways, that is all for our video today, and we'll see you next time.